And so once again, good afternoon everyone, and this is the second lesson of arts, which is a continuation of what we discussed last week about arts of Renaissance and Baroque periods. But this time, we will specifically talk about who are the different artists from each period and ano yung mga kilala nilang mga artworks. So for our most essential learning competency at the end of the lesson, we would like to identify representative artists from Renaissance and Baroque periods. Kaya yun nga yung magiging concentration ng topic natin today. So first, what do you need to know about Renaissance art? So since we have already tackled about the different characteristics of Renaissance and Baroque art last week in terms of the elements and principles of design, di ba? Yun yung topic natin nung nakaraan. So ngayon naman, i-recap lang natin ano ba yung mga distinct characteristics nitong dalawang art na to before we proceed to discussing yung mga kilalang artists from these periods. So unahin muna natin sa Renaissance. So sabi dito, Renaissance was the duration of financial progress. So bakit? Kasi 'di ba 'yun na nga yung panahon na kung saan unti-unti ulit na nabuhay yung economy ng Europe and as well yung arts and yung pag-aaral sa iba't ibang mga sciences. So yun yung panahon ng financial progress ng Europe in general. So it is also an era of notable artistic and mental achievement with the start of secular art kasi dito na nga nagsimula yung iba't ibang mga klase ng pag-aaral tungkol sa human anatomy, sa iba't ibang aspects of philosophy, and dahil doon nabuo yung konteksto ng humanism at yun yung nagtulak sa mga tao para mas mag-concentrate dun sa secularism rather than religiosity or sacred arts. Yan. So, this is also the focal point wherein everything is about sensible and humanistic art. Kaya nga kapag pinag-aralan natin yung mga artworks from Renaissance period, mostly it's about yung human body, di ba? So, ginoglory niya yung lahat ng lahat ng everything about human. Yan, from their emotions, yung kanilang mga movement, kanilang mga talents. So lahat ng yon yung pinag-aaralan ng panahon ng Renaissance. And then Renaissance artwork was one characterized via correct anatomy, scientific perspective, and deeper landscape. I guess diniscuss ko na ito noong nakaraan, di ba? So yan yung tatlong characteristic ng Renaissance art: anatomy, scientific perspective, and deeper landscape. So Renaissance painters depicted real-life figures and their sculptures had been naturalistic pics of human beings. So dalawang aspect yung pinag-usapan dito. First is yung realism. Kaya nga makikita natin sa mga paintings nila at saka or even sa mga sculptures nila na as much as possible they try to be realistic dun sa kanilang design or dun sa kanilang mga figures na kine-create. And another is yung context of naturalism. Pag sinabi natin naturalism, you try to be natural as much as possible. So hindi yung merong mga awkward positions, kundi parang naka-relax position lang kadalasan yung mga characters doon. Kung ano yung natural na ginagawa nila o yung position nila. And then, in terms of architecture, sabi dito, architecture for the duration of this period used to be characterized by its symmetry and balance. So, pag sinabi nating balance in terms of principles of design, it means equal distribution of visual weight. So, sa symmetry naman, kung ano yung nakikita mo sa isang side, yun din yung makikita mo sa kabilang side. So, makikita natin, for example, dito sa architectural design na to, that there is really symmetry and balance kasi lahat is parang copy ng bawat parts, isa't isa. Yan. Isa yan sa mga feature ng Renaissance, yung context of symmetry. And din yung balance is yan, di ba? Parang lahat ng mga bagay na ito, yung context ng pagkakaroon ng mga dome, yun, nagbibigay siya ng idea of balance. Ayan. So let's talk about the different artists from Renaissance and their famous artworks. First, we have Michelangelo. So si Michelangelo he was born in 1475 and he died in 1565, and he is an Italian sculptor painter, architect, and poet. Yan. So ilan to sa mga sikat na ginawa niya. One is yung famous Pieta na kung saan pinapakita yung si Mary na binubuhat yung dead body ni Jesus after ng crucifixion. And then another is yung the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, wherein part doon is yung kwento about Genesis, yung creation of Adam. So si Michelangelo is considered as the greatest living artist in his lifetime, and ever since then he was considered as one of the greatest artists of all time. And that is true, 'di ba? Parang yung mga yung mga yon, yung mga pinakita natin na, na mga architectural designs na yon, talagang hanggang ngayon sikat pa rin siya, pinupuntahan pa rin siya ng mga tourist kasi ganun kaganda yung mga ginawa niya. At kaya nga, kino-consider si Michelangelo as one of the greatest artists of all time. So, yung mga ilan sa mga kilala niyang gawa is yan yung Pieta, Bacchus, Moses, David, ito yung Statue of David, ito yung Bacchus. And then, Dawn and Dusk, this is Dawn and Dusk. And then, of course, yung the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, yung Genesis, yung nakita natin na creation of Adam. Isa yun sa mga sikat na ginawa niya. Sabi nga doon sa nabasa ko, yun daw ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, hindi daw natapos ni Michelangelo yun. Kumbaga, yun na yung last na naging project niya. Kasi, while he was doing the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, unti-unti na siyang nabulag. So, kasi 'di ba kapag gumagawa ka ng fresco painting, tinitiktik mo muna yung pader doon, yung semento noon. Tapos tsaka mo siya lalagyan ng plaster, tsaka mo siya pipinturahan. Since nasa ceiling nga siya, so tendency nakatingala si Michelangelo yung debris nung nung ginagawa niya, pupunta sa mata niya, yun na nakapag-cause ng pagkabulag niya. Kaya hindi na siya yung tumapos nung ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, kundi ibang artist na. But even so, kahit na hindi man niya natapos, hindi man niya nawa, pero hanggang ngayon, buhay pa rin yung artwork niya, yung contribution niya sa art dun sa ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And then we have Leonardo da Vinci. Yan, so 1452 to 1519. So he is a painter, architect, scientist, and mathematician. Kumbaga si Da Vinci kasi mas kilala siya dun sa mga scientific contributions niya rather than sa artworks na ginagawa niya. So ilan lang sa mga kilalang artwork ni Da Vinci is yung Mona Lisa at saka itong The Last Supper. And then ayan, so he was known as the ultimate Renaissance man because of his intellect, interest, talent, and his expression of humanist and classical values. So very humanistic kasi yung mga ginagawa ni Leonardo da Vinci at saka yun nga yung mga pag-aaral niya tungkol sa human anatomy, yan. So very humanistic lahat ng yun. At yun lang, ilan lang ito sa mga sikat na nagawa ni Leonardo da Vinci, yan. Yung famous Mona Lisa na punong-puno ng napakaraming kontrobersya at saka itong The Last Supper. Yan. And then we have Raphael. Raphael is an Italian painter and architect of high Renaissance period, meaning itong si Raphael, sumikat siya nung later part na ng Renaissance period. Kaya kung mapapansin natin, yung gawa niya is much more detailed and colorful compared to the other painters. Mas na-develop yung realism kay Raphael kesa dun sa mga nauna sa kanya, kay Michelangelo at saka kay Leonardo da Vinci. Kasi latter part na siya ng Renaissance, kumbaga sumikat. So his work was admired for its clarity and form and ease of composition. Sabihin natin composition is yung structure ng kanyang work, and for its visual achievement and of the interpreting the divine and incorporating Christian values. So nakita naman natin, di ba, dito sa mga gawa niya, like this one, Sistine Madonna, and then the School of Athens, ito yung discuss natin last time, na inanalyze natin in terms of principles of design. And then this is the Transfiguration painting, ilang buo yung niya. Pero as you can see, yung mga mukha ng characters ni Raphael is merong clarity, especially yung colors. Although, like this one, itong School of Athens, diba? Kitang-kita natin na nandun yung context of naturalism. And, ayan, mas detailed yung kanyang pagkakagamit ng iba't ibang mga colors and yung actions. Yeah. So very Renaissance talaga yung style ni Raphael. And then we have Donatello. Yeah, si Donato, De Nicolo, Di Beto Bardi. Yeah, si Donatello. He was an early Renaissance Italian sculptor from Florence. And then so, hindi man siya kasing sikat nung tatlo, pero meron din siya mga laking contribution sa Renaissance art. Yan. So, kilala si Donatello sa mga bas relief work niya ng sculpture. Pag sinabi nating bas relief, it is a form of shallow relief sculpture. So, ano pa rin yung pagiging relief sculpture, nakadikit siya sa pader, pero mas naka-embossed siya compared dun sa mga typical na relief sculpture. And then his works included the following statues and relief, such as David, this one. And then there is the statue of Saint George, this one. Then ito ay Equestrian Monument of Melata, sorry. Ayan, so hindi ko na yan nakipakita. Pero this one is a Prophet Habakkuk and the Feast of Herod. Wala na dyan yun. So research nyo na lang. So yan lang yan sa mga sikat niyang gawa. Pero siguro sa lahat ng mga gawa niya, pinakasikat sa lahat is ito, yung Statue of David na gawa sa bronze. So how about Baroque art? So what do we need to know about Baroque art? So alam namin na yung Baroque art, yun na yung golden age of art. Kasi from yung time ng experimental ng Renaissance hanggang sa unti-unti na siya umangat ng late Renaissance. Kaya nung panahon ng Baroque period, kung saan nagkahari na yung mga aristocrats at meron ng sapat na pondo, kayang pumondo sa mga arts. Kaya yun na yung parang pinnacle ng arts. Kaya masasabi natin na yung Baroque art, siya yung pinaka-engrande sa lahat. So ano ba yung mga characteristic ng Baroque art? First, we have to know that Baroque came from the word Barocco, which means irregularly fashioned pearl or stone. Nung panahon na iyon, kapag meron kang irregular shape o Barocco, sobrang precious nun or sobrang mahal nun kasi it's very unusual kasi 'di ba usually ang size ang shape ng pearl is round lang. Pero kapag naging irregular yung shape niya, it becomes so precious. So that is where the word Baroque came from, that word Barocco. So Baroque style was once a length of creative styles in exaggerated motion, drama, tension, and grandeur. So, siguro, what makes Baroque different from other art is the word exaggeration. So, lahat ng pwede mo maisip na exaggeration nasa Baroque. Hindi sila nako-contain sa isang simpleng structure lang, kundi dapat exaggerated yung pagkabongga niya, ganun. So, drama. Kitang-kita mo sa reaction ng mga mukha ng mga characters that there is indeed drama. Even yung kanilang mga movements, very dramatic. And then doon nga, yung context of grandeur kasi ginagamit nga ng mga elites or ng mga aristocrats ang art to project how rich they are, how powerful they are. So pang-flex ng mga ng mga mayayaman 'yan. Kaya talagang binobonggahan nila yung mga paintings sa kanilang mga bahay at saka yung design ng kanilang mga palasyo. So to prove kung gaano sila makapangyarihan, kung gaano sila kayaman. And then yung mga Baroque sculpture is marked with the aid of a similar sense of dynamic movement. Ibig sabihin, hindi tulad sa sculpture ng Renaissance na parang naka-relax position lang sila. Makikita natin sa mga Baroque sculpture that there is a sense of dynamic movement as if they are moving. So alongside with an energetic use of space, dati parang bare lang yung background to the point na halos wala talagang background yung mga sculptures. Pero simula nung pumasok ng Baroque period, parang hindi nakokontento yung mga sculptors na yung character lang yung nakatayo dun. Kinakailangan may background siya. Ganon. So isa yan sa characteristic ng Baroque sculpture. And then, as for the structure, its structure used to be designed to create spectacle and illusion. Kaya nga big part nitong sa mga structure or sa mga sculpture yung background para mag-create ng spectacle and illusion. Yan. So, sino-sino ba yung mga Baroque artists at saka ano ba yung kanilang mga artworks? So, first, Meron ding Michelangelo, ang Baroque period, so si Michelangelo Merisi. So siya ay better known as Caravaggio. So he was an Italian artist who wanted to deviate from the classical masters of the Renaissance. Kasi parang feeling nitong si Caravaggio is sobrang plain ng style ng mga Renaissance masters. Yeah, yan nila Da Vinci, nila Michelangelo. So nag-deviate siya dun sa ideology na yun. And sabi dito, he's also an outcast in his society because of his own actions and the lack of modesty and reverence for religious subject in his own paintings. Kumbaga parang kaya siya naging outcast o kaya siya tinatakwil ng lipunan. It's because parang hindi niya ginagalang yung mga religious subjects sa kanya mga painting. And then among his famous paintings were Supper at Emmaus, and then Conversion of Saint Paul and Entombment of Christ. So ito yung painting na nakita nyo na ito. This is the Conversion of Saint Paul. Isa sa mga kilalang paintings itong ni Caravaggio. So next naman is si Gian Lorenzo Bernini. So sino naman siya? He's an Italian artist and he is the first Baroque artist. So he practiced architecture and sculpture painting and stage design and was also a playwright. So kung si Caravaggio is more on sa mga paintings niya, sino na bang si Bernini is more on theater arts. And since he is an all-around artist, makita natin, di ba, almost all of the visual arts are present dun sa kanyang mga ginagawa, dun sa kanyang mga product. Kaya yung kanyang mga stage design at saka yung mga sinusulat niya na stories are really supported by these visual arts such as yung mga design niya ng painting, sculpture dun sa mga sinagawa niyang design dun sa kanyang theater. And then among his early artworks were the goat, Amalthea with the infant Jupiter and Fawn, and then Damsel, Apollo and Daphne and the Blessed Soul. So ito yon. Ito yung Apollo and Daphne. Tingnan nyo na lang siya sa Google para makita nyo yung isang buong itsura niya, yung isang buong structure niya. Pero ito na lang yung inano ko, baga hinighlight ko dun sa buong sculpture na yan ng Apollo and Daphne. As you can see, di ba, there is a sense of movement even dun sa buhok niya. And then yung kanyang style is meron pa siyang inspiration ng Renaissance, ng late Renaissance. Na makita natin doon sa ibang mga artworks ng great classical artists from the Renaissance period. Pero nandun na yung touch ng pagka-Baroque niya. Kasi yan, as you can see, doon pa lang sa buhok, kung makita nyo yung buong ano nito, yung buong sculpture nito, this is very elegant. And then aside from this one, aside from Apollo and Daphne, isa sa mga sikat na gawa niya is ito, yung famous Ecstasy of Saint Teresa. Ito yung sinasabi ko na hindi sapat yung hindi sapat yung sculpture lang mismo, kinakailangan may mga background. Ayan. So, it is obviously seen dun sa Ecstasy of Saint Teresa. This was his greatest achievement and the colonnade of Piazza of Saint Peter's Rome. So, yan lang yan sa mga gawa niya. Bernini. So, next is si Rubens. So, si Peter Paul Rubens, 1577 to 1640. He was a Flemish Baroque painter. He was well known for his painting of mythical and figurative subjects. So, more on, mga mythical subjects itong si Rubens. And then, he also specializes in landscape, portraits, and counter-reformation altarpieces. Kasi noong panahon ng Renaissance, nauso na yung counter-reformation. Ito yung anti-Catholic Church o yung tinatawag natin na Protestantism. So, meron din sila mga altarpieces and itong si Rubens he is a Protestant. Kaya yung mga artworks niya is related din doon sa counter-reformation. Yan, so his famous works were Samson and Delilah, Landscape with the Tower, Portrait of Helene Ferment, and The Three Graces. Si Rubens kasi meron siyang patron. So yung patron niya na yon, si Helene Ferment, palagi niya yung subject sa lahat ng mga gawa niya. Since siyempre, kino-commission siya nun na gawin yun, yung mga portrait painting na yun. Then we have Rembrandt. So, sino si Rembrandt? He was a brilliant Dutch realist painter and etcher. So, nung panahon na yan ng Baroque period, uso na yung printmaking. So, itong si Rembrandt, dyan siya sumikat and kilala siya sa pagkagawa talaga ng mga portraiture niya. Yan, at saka sa printmaking. Yan. Oh, lumipat. Yan, here you go. So he followed no particular faith but was interested in spiritual values and often chooses religious subjects. Yan. So kahit hindi talaga siya inclined sa kahit anong religion, whether it is a Protestant or Catholic, pero interested siya sa mga religious subjects. So no artist has painted himself as often as did Rembrandt. So kilala siya sa pagpipaint ng kanyang sarili. So, mahigaling siya doon sa self-portrait, paggagawa ng painting about himself. And ito nga yung isa sa mga sikat na painting niya. Yan, self-portrait in old age. And Rembrandt had produced over 600 paintings, nearly 400 etchings, and 2,000 drawings. And then last na ba to? Yeah. And lastly, we have Diego Velazquez. So Diego Velazquez was one of the finest masters of composition. Composition ibig sabihin structure. And one of the most important painters of the Spanish Golden Age. So nung panahon kasi ng Baroque, yan niya yung Golden Age ng Spain. So bakit? Kasi sila yung leading together with Portuguese, di ba? Sila yung leading when it comes to expedition yung period of time na yan. So, isa siya sa mga kilalang painter nung panahon na yon ng Golden Age of Spain. Then his famous works were the Surrender of Breda, Las Meninas, Las Barachos, and Maria Teresa. So, siya yan. Ayan, nakita niyo yung mukha na to. Yan. Siya yan, si Velazquez yan. So, isa siya sa mga, sinama yung sarili niya. Kasi patron niya ito, itong pamilya na to. Yan. Yan, so the Las Meninas or the Maids of Honor. Maids of Honor is nakapaligid sila, yan yung mga attendants nung kanyang patron na bata. So, since commission siya doon, since patron niya yon, so commission siya na i-paint yung family nila. So, yan isa sa mga artworks niya. Meron pa ba? Yeah, ganun. Ayun. Yan, so that's it. So far,